You're listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, featuring senior retail executives and experts in the global convenience and mobility industry. Welcome to the Future of Convenience podcast. I'm Carolyn Schnare, and I'm joined by my co-host today, Anthony Wysome. Hey, Anthony.
Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Today, I'm excited to be on here with you. We're going to talk about AI, and our guest today says that AI development is advancing so quickly, it's like experiencing 20,000 years of progress in 1 century. Hey, it's Carolyn, and I have a quick message from our sponsor before we get started. You may have noticed at NACS that Invenco looks a bit different. They're entering a new chapter that is powered by Vontier. As a member of Team Vontier, Invenco is part of a strong portfolio of brands that this industry knows and trusts, powering the way the world moves and partnering with customers to ensure they have the right integrated solutions across the mobility ecosystem. Invenco just announced that their 2026 U.S. Retail Technology Conference will be taking place May 11 through 14 in sunny Tucson, Arizona. I had the pleasure of attending RTC this year in Chicago, and I can tell you this is a great conference. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned veteran in the industry, this event will give you insight into what you need to be thinking about today to propel your business forward for the journey ahead. I hope to see you there. Visit rtc.invenco.com to register. So, Anthony, 20,000 years of progress in 1 century. So have you ever been to Disney World and that Carousel of Progress in Tomorrowland? No? Well, if you have, there's this old creepy robots. They spin around, and the Carousel of Progress, it's been there since, I don't know, probably 1975. And I haven't been in the last, I don't know, maybe this century since I was a kid, but it's still there. And it talks about the gramophone to the telephone, and I'm sure there's a smartphone. But if we're talking 20,000 years of progress in 1 century, as Kate, our guest, will tell us, I'm going to guess that that's like warp speed, like a roller coaster going through that thing, that ride. And I think it would be absolutely terrifying. So, but I don't think our show today is going to be that scary. So if you ever get over to Disney World, think about that next time.
Certainly shall. Thank you. I'm just recovering from the roller coaster my kids made me go on last week. So we'll give it a fortnight. But you're right. We are definitely going to be working at warp speed for the next 20 minutes or so, I think.
Yeah, I'm really excited well, I use AI a lot for myself, for my job. It helped me find a car. It helped me find a vacation. So I'm definitely trying it out for little things here and there, but not even nearly touching the surface to what we could. So our guest was a featured speaker at an Insight AI roundtable a few months ago. And would you like to tell us a little bit about that and bring on our guest?
Yeah, so as you know, we've been running the AI Insight Roundtable for over a year now. We've covered some brilliant retail topics. So I think we've talked about it on previous podcasts as well. Kate and I have worked together on and off for an awful long time. Kate's company, GDR, have been critical to the sort of innovation work that I've been doing for maybe 15 plus years now. Always ahead of the curve, and we used to talk about being ahead of being sort of 3 to 5 years ahead, and just getting that sense of where the world was going. As you've already indicated, Kate's been out there at NRF, is a regular on media here in the UK when it comes to AI, and has really, so I think, begun to grasp some of the issues that we can see on a broader level and begin to apply them brilliantly to the retail world. So it's just great to have her here today and to drain her of a bit of information over the next 20 minutes as to how the next 20,000 years is going to manifest, I guess.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say, Anthony. Thank you for that very, very effusive introduction, which I feel I don't deserve. But anyway, I'm delighted to be here.
So, Kate, let's start off with that one. Yeah, as I say, it's a great headline when we talk about AI development advancing so quickly. It is like experiencing 20,000 years of progress in 1 century. Do you want to break that down for retail leaders?
Yes, well, I think obviously we should say, first of all, that wasn't my quote. That was Ray Kurzweil, who's the kind of head visionary at Google. So he's a very top sort of AI scientist and really knows his stuff. He's not a science fiction writer, which I, for some reason, I think some people think he is. He's a very serious grown-up technologist. And it was him that said this, that we are advancing at the speed of 20,000 years in this next century. So, when you hear that, I wonder whether he was just thinking, look, let's just shake people up with a big quote that we could put on the front of a book. But I think when you break it down a little bit and you think, look, even if he's just using this for effect, it's not truly, every 3 months, 50 years of advancement every year 200 years of technological advancement. I mean, even if it's only half that, I think the point he's making is really worthwhile, which is that no human being that has ever lived has had to understand such a fast pace of change and react to it as we are now having to react. And I've always said, in particular for retail, that retail is rocket science. I mean, it is so complicated to keep today's consumer happy, particularly the young ones. They want everything and they want it yesterday and they want to pay very little for it. And the world is complicated. So it was like that just in the 10-year omnichannel transformation that we've just been through. And it's like that times 20,000 now that we've got the AI revolution. So I think the Ray Kurzweil quote is really useful just to sort of, shake us up and make us realize, look, we're not alone in feeling probably quite overwhelmed and probably not really knowing how to cope with this, because no one has ever had to cope with this level of change before.
And I said that you've hit immediately on what is the ongoing theme when we get our retailers together for the AI roundtables, which is, as you say, that being hit with that message. And actually, you've probably hit more people with it than many over the last few months. It is interesting because I think all the evidence is that some immediately move and some almost get paralyzed by the sense of scale and the kind of almost where to start with something that big. Before we get into some of the sort of particular elements of it, I mean, just in terms of how you feel people react to that sort of big hit message, what do you experience when you tell people this?
My general feeling is that, because I speak at conferences a lot and I speak on AI a lot, that there is a fatigue about, another speaker going to talk about AI. They're all doing it. We've heard this now for the last couple of years. And I think people switch off because I think the fundamental human response to super fast change, which is threatening to each and every one of us as individual employees. I mean, let's face it, we are all worried about our jobs. Everyone who knows anything about this is, and if they're not, they should be worried about their jobs. And therefore, people are both turned off, fatigued, but also the fundamental underlying emotion, I think, is fear. They are afraid of what this will mean for them. And that's on many levels. They're afraid of having to learn new skills, having to do their job differently, having to do perhaps multiple people's jobs because they're now so AI enhanced with all of these extra tools. But we know what that often really means is just sort of, have more pressure and work longer hours because you've got fewer human resources to help you. And then they're worried about, will my job go? If I'm a knowledge worker, if I work in management or any kind of data or any kind of writing or any kind of copy or any kind of marketing, all of those things are potentially threatened. So people are afraid, they're turned off, and they are hard to enthuse. So I see it as my job to do that difficult thing and enthuse them about the positives and make them more optimistic, show them the upside, talk about how, look, retail has had a problem for many years in terms of low margins, difficult to employ people. It's not everyone's first choice of a career. And we need some big fixes. And actually, AI does provide many of those big fixes. So we have to embrace it. There's no going back. You can't not move with this wave. We have to embrace it. We have to enhance ourselves as workers, and we have to deploy the AI in the best way with human ingenuity, skill, empathy, and, human contact that will become the luxury in the future. We need to combine the AI and the human. I know everyone says that. I know it's easier said than done, but my job is to make people think, yes, I can actually see how that is actually quite exciting. Yeah, let's see how we can start to break this big problem down.
So in other words, burying your head in the sand is not the answer here. So just, oh my God, it's too much. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to hide now.
Agreed.
And to that point too, I mean, I think, I'm one of those people who my job could be threatened if I'm not using it correctly. I'm a writer. I'm a podcaster. I do a lot of marketing. Basically everything you said that, well, your job could get eliminated. But I'm hoping to fight against that a little bit here. But I think personally, if I embrace it, use it for a tool at the entry level, basic administrative kind of way, and then work with that. I can use my brain can overcome, and my human intelligence can overcome what it gave me. So I guess to that point, if I could ask you to expand a little bit on that in terms of going away from like the marketing side of things, but as you mentioned, customer service, and how it can be a helper. I think you mentioned it can be a good starting spot. How can these more like empathetic AIs really help with customer service, create more loyalty, things like that? Where can we use it on the customer service side of things in retail?
I think that Walmart seem to be a bit ahead of the curve. They've come out with Sparky, I think in July, so it's pretty recent. So that's their AI assistant on the Walmart app or website, and I think it's a classic retail assistant. So if you go to Walmart because you're having a big party, you've got 40 people coming. It's a barbecue, and you have to work out how many chicken wings do I need for 40 people? What's the latest trends in salads? What should I have for all the vegans and the difficult people and all the kids that won't eat this and won't eat that? And so instead of you typing an essay which says, okay, I got 40 people, how many wings do I need? Blah, blah, blah. You just chat to it. You chat to it and you say, look, I've got, I'm doing this. You recommend, you suggest, you give me the scheduled slots for deliveries. I'll give you access to my diary. You can tell me when that fits, when I'm in. You can make suggestions for the recipes. You can put the list together for me automatically. It's all done through just a natural language interface. It's incredibly useful for complicated kind of shopping journeys. And of course, it remembers what you like and what you previously bought, and it knows that you are gluten intolerant and your husband's got diabetes and you're trying to keep the sugars low and all the rest of it. It just is a phenomenally useful, intelligent, agentic assistant. And that's Walmart.
All I asked it was, how do I find Scotchgard? Like, that's what I was like, what aisle is this in? I never even thought about having a conversation with him.
Exactly. And it knows what the inventory is. So, if you want, 200 sardines, it will tell you, we've only got 25 sardines. So forget that off the menu.
Will it tell you don't do that?
So it's
nobody wants that many sardines. I'm just playing.
I love sardines. But so I think the idea of moving into a world of the agentic browser is with us already. It's just the early stages. Just not everyone's got it because not everyone's necessarily paying, for Perplexity Pro. They're not maybe paying the $20 a month, or perhaps some of them are in beta, like Perplexity's Comet. It's only just come out. But the idea of the combination of a browser, so that used to just you type in what you want and then it would come up with a list of things. But instead of that, it's your kind of companion. So it searches for you. It doesn't just search for one thing. It could search for a whole combination of things, like, everything I need for a kid's birthday party, or everything I need to build a library in my home, and show me how to do it and compare all the prices. I don't have to have 100 tabs open. It sits on my shoulder, as it were. That's not everyone's cup of tea. I hasten to add, I know that having the privacy question is a big question and is a worry for a lot of people. Not everyone wants an assistant sitting on their shoulder, looking over their shoulder at what they're browsing on the internet. But a lot of people do. A lot of people don't have those privacy issues. And the idea of being accompanied throughout your online journey and activity and whatever it is you're shopping for the best, because as you say, you've been using it for booking holidays. So you can now get, what was the name? I came across it yesterday. A really interesting app called Ariel, Airial. And it's a travel AI assistant. And what it does is it watches videos, or, you praise it of the videos you like on, say, TikTok, some influencer on some fabulous Balinese island, but maybe they're not giving you all the details of exactly where they are or what restaurant that was they just went to or what clothes they're wearing. But Ariel will basically do the assessment of extracting the metadata from that and other videos, travel videos that you've liked. And from that, we'll put together a schedule for you to go to that hotel, for you to get flights to that island, for you to book that restaurant that that person's just talked about and actually make it happen for you. So the same thing with food. You can have another one, this one called Sizzle, which is it watches kind of recipe TikToks and Instagram shorts for you or with you, but then it converts that into an actual list of ingredients, and it sends it off to Instacart for delivery later that day. So that's the power of AI for shoppers who have complicated lives and they need the help with all the shopping and doing things for the family and all that kind of stuff. That is where I feel AI is much less frightening, much more positive, much more kind of clearly and obviously useful to the consumer, and not, it's not leading you into some of those dark tunnels of, some of the sort of social media problems that we're seeing with things like, I don't know, AI girlfriends or AI boyfriends or AI, analysts or psychotherapists. This is for me the kind of clearly economically useful advances in AI for retail.
So Kate, mentioned Walmart there, but actually what we also then talked about was fundamentally, as you say, we're going to get to a point where a lot of customers have outsourced the effort that they were putting in to their own agent. How should retailers begin to prepare for the idea of effectively servicing customer agents as opposed to customers themselves?
Well, that is a very interesting question. And I think you can look at it from many different perspectives. I mean, we've seen, for example, Gibberlink. I don't know if your listeners have seen that video online of two computers phoning each other, both using natural voice, and the one phones the other one, and it's a business. He's phoning up a wedding venue and saying, "Hi, I'm phoning on behalf of Kate, and she's got a wedding that she wants to organize. Do you have a venue that suits 300 people?" And then the recipient on the other end says, "Oh, hi, I'm also an AI. Do you want to talk about all these things in a bit more of an efficient way? Let's use Gibberlink." And then these two computers use this R2D2 language in a much more efficient way for them. So, that's cutting out the human bit concerning, if eventually the Terminators do take over. But you can see that that's an advantage for, complex interaction agent to agent. So that's one thing, is as a business, are you going to recognize that your agent is answering the phone and other agents are maybe on the other end? In which case, do you want to switch to a Gibberlink mode? On the other hand, you might be thinking about retail media. I mean, retail media, huge growth, massive margins for the retailers, super important growing area of, profitability for particularly supermarkets and convenience stores. Well, what about when it's the agent that you need to advertise to, not the soft, emotionally led, status-driven human unit? What if it's the agent that you have to impress? In which case, you need structured data, not emotional marketing. You need clear, transparent pricing availability for them to make comparisons on behalf of their human owner. So retail media will need to also change or adapt or expand its offer so that it's clearly usable by AI agents.
So
that's another way.
So retail media in Gibberlink from here,
possibly.
And I mean, let's take it quickly into one or two other areas of particular sort of food retail related questions. So you and I've talked before about Yucca, for example, take health and nutrition. So, this one seems to be coming through very quickly in many cases in terms of the ability. Do you want to just give us a sense of where that area is going for retailers at the moment?
Yes, Yuka, if anyone's not familiar, is YUKA. It's a free app that you can download on your phone, and it allows you to scan any barcode for food items and also personal care, beauty, cosmetics. It doesn't cover currently things like cleaning materials for the household, but maybe that's the future. So if you pay a bit extra, which I do, for example, then you can also not just scan barcodes, but you can type in a brand name. So it might be something that isn't in front of you, you can't actually scan it. And it is absolutely life-changing for those people who adopt it. And I had it for years on my phone and I just didn't really use it. And then the penny dropped. Then I started scanning things at the shelf and thinking, this is not just poor, this is actually bad because it gives you, excellent, good, poor, or bad scores for all these foods and these cosmetics based on, does it have nasty chemicals? Does it have endocrine disruptors? Does it have, things which are forever chemicals, things that are going to damage the environment, things that will damage your health? Does it have microplastics? All of these nasty things that do not need to be there. And then it gives you an alternative. It says, this is terrible, but this one does the same thing and it's really good. And so you think, well, why would I buy the thing I was scanning that's terrible for me, could actually harm me? Toxic load, people having problems with fertility, all of these, people are starting to connect dots and think, why are young people getting cancer so often these days? Is it something in our environment? Is it the toxic load of all these things I'm putting on my hair and my face? And we don't know the answer to that, but in case it is, you may as well try and reduce your toxic load. And then Yuka came out recently with a kind of campaigning element. So this was new, so we gave us an excuse to talk about it again, where it has the email address pre-programmed in of hundreds of big corporations to the marketing director. And it would say, dear Mr. X company marketing director that makes X food, which we have identified as being very bad. Please take this endocrine disruptor out of this very bad food because it's not necessary. And people are sending these emails. You can only send one, can't bombard or harass, and it's polite and it's legal. And of course, this is very desirable for Gen Z. They like this transparency. They like to feel that they can be a campaigner for good. And so it's having an impact on French convenience stores and supermarkets, particularly for own label, where they are in control of the ingredients and they're having to consider how they manufacture some of those products that have been, rated as poor on Yuka. So it's a new world.
This isn't based on user feedback. Like, this isn't like, oh, I give this 5 stars, it worked well for me. This is entirely based on ingredients.
On scientific analysis of the ingredients, and it seems all kind of very grown up in terms of the science that's behind it. And of course, it's only possible in the last few years because of AI.
And I mean, that's if there's a message for me out of that, as you say, it is that once you get to this quality of information, transparency is a byproduct of this. You can't, I'm not saying retailers are sat on things that they shouldn't be sat on, but actually this is where AI really does, lay everything bare, isn't it? I mean, in terms of what you sell and how you sell it.
Exactly. It's terrifying if you're a big brand that maybe is using some slightly, how should we say, legacy methodologies for making the food go further. But it's extraordinarily empowering for the consumer, and they now have choice and they have science and knowledge and transparency. And I do think that is creating a whole new world.
Kate, before we finish, there are a couple of areas I just think would be great to round off. One, which we'll come to in a minute, is effectively the sort of recommend for executives who are still wanting to try AI and come, and where to start almost in terms of getting personally comfortable with some of the things we're talking about today. But actually, I'm interested just in tying together these couple of examples we've talked about and how they're coming through with that sort of sense of this incredibly rapid progress. So some of the things we'll have talked about today, people won't have necessarily seen themselves yet or experienced en masse. How quickly is this stuff coming, and who's bringing it to the fore in a way that we will all notice in our own retail worlds?
Well, obviously, there's GPT-5, which just came out in the last week or so. You should be using that. If you're not, you're kind of daft. You've just got to be using that. Use all the free ones. Use Perplexity. Use Claude Sonnet, Claude to write, Perplexity to research, Pi to have discussions with. Try sesame.com, which isn't really out yet. It's in beta, but that is the best I've come across for just unbelievably natural, funny, charming, emotive, human. I mean, I defy you to be able to tell that that is not a human being. It doesn't know anything. It's not connected to the internet with knowledge, which is, others have, obviously GPT-5 and Pi and so on. That's PI, free download as well. But sesame.com will appraise you of how good these conversational bots are. And, anyone who said that that's never, that uncanny valley thing will always be with us and will never achieve, the Turing test of, not being able to tell that these things aren't human. We have already gone way past that. Turing test has already been way broken. People cannot tell that these bots aren't real. So you need to be using it for yourself. I get discounts. I ask Perplexity to find me an active coupon before I buy anything on e-commerce. Before I used to do just ordinary internet searches and most of the coupons were out of date. Well, Perplexity just gets it right first time. So it's actually saving me money. And then, try scheduling. Expedia has a fantastic travel scheduling capability for your travel, with real-time updates, understanding that, planes are being cancelled and so on. So use them for yourself. Talk to them as companions. I mean, don't go right down the rabbit hole of
you may not date the AI.
I wouldn't suggest them truly for any kind of honest to God, problem that you really have as a human being, but use them to help you as a traveler, a shopper, to organize things, to advise you on how to fix things, all of those practical usages. I mean, if you're not super powered by AI in terms of being a just regular person these days, then you really are missing a trick.
I do think that I think if Dan was here today, we'd have had some anecdotes. I mean, Dan is fantastically smug about his ability to learn AI, but actually that is that is the fundamental. I mean, you've been at the front of this. We're all picking it up as we go, but actually, how do you feel now, just in terms of your comfort with AI and how it is, how it is changing you as a consumer? You've indicated a couple of things, but actually, are you over the hump now in terms of this feeling new and difficult, and you now feel comfortable with the world that is emerging, or is it still a daily experience to kind of come to grips with it?
No, I'm not at all comfortable with it. I don't think I'll ever be comfortable with it. How can I be comfortable with something that's such a extraordinary challenger to every aspect of my way of life? No, I think to know anything about AI is to be very afraid, but also to be very excited. It has both of those elements to it. And if you're not concerned, then you are being a bit of an ostrich. We should be concerned. Are the people in charge of these world-changing technologies really people that we would trust? I'm not sure that they are. Are governments really? Do they really have a control of how these planetary changing technologies are released into the world? What about the bad actors? What about the fakes? I mean, the negatives are horrific and horrendous and potentially humanity ending. To pretend that it's all positive is to be a bit daft. So no, I'm not comfortable. But I can't stop it. So I have to just adapt and move with it and take the good and try to work with the good side of it from a business and a human advancement point of view.
So, Kate, that's very true. Again, it goes back to the ostrich head in the sand thing. You just can't. You just have to even try a little, or just at least know what's out there. And I guess that's one of my last questions to you. It's kind of more of a point than a question, but I think if there's something I can take away from this for the brick and mortar retailers that are listening to this, is you just at least need to try. And whether it's not necessarily using, I mean, you have to have an internet presence of some sort, and it should be darn good internet presence if you can get there. But you have to have something, because if you want these AIs to find you, I think you have to be there, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And you've got to be AI agent friendly and willing to take calls from AI agents, and having open APIs and having clear and transparent structured data so the AIs can trawl through your information on behalf of their owners. And, that's a very technical back end set of actions that are going to have to be taken.
That's very helpful, and an entirely next episode of some sort, because we can go on forever on this. But I know I've got I've been writing down a huge list of things to try. I know, just that Perplexity. I have to go look at that. That's so cool. I mean, I used Claude most recently I needed to buy new stools, but I needed to buy different size stools. So I said, I need them this size. I need this. Here's what I'm looking for. Can you compare the prices? When are they on sale? I would like to have it by next Monday. It needs to be this size, this color, and it needs to match this. And we had a little conversation back and forth until it finally told me 3 retailers to do it. Would you like to search their website for availability? I'm like, yes, please. I'm like, can you just order it for me? Here's my credit card number. But we didn't get that far with it because that would be creepy. But there's so many cool things you can do with it, both on mostly on the consumer side that we've talked about today, but I think on the retail side as well. So, Kate, do you have some last minute closing places where, besides this list of really cool things to do, where listeners maybe could dig a little deeper into some of the things you were talking about?
Well, there are lots of free newsletters that people in my industry keep an eye on, and we do get interesting ideas from there. I personally like The Futurist. I like podcasts. I like Diary of a CEO. There's lots of tech people on there, but they're not techie. It's not a pure techie podcast. I think, once you start looking at quite interesting kind of AI analysis online, then obviously you'll get lots of other recommendations, and you just basically have to start reading quite widely. Keep an eye on what OpenAI is up to. What is Perplexity coming out with? Who has got the new agentic browser? What's OpenAI's operator doing in terms of its agentic capabilities? Is it really trustworthy yet? Note that people like MasterCard have come up with Visa Pay because they anticipate your agent will need a tokenized system to safely use your credit card in the background through tokens, obviously, to make purchases on your behalf. Bear in mind that Shopify has decided that it doesn't want agents to trawl its site and make purchases without a final approval from the human person. And so they've put in safeguards to prevent that happening. So you need to note, who's accepting what, who's drawing a line where, and where do you feel comfortable as a brand or a retailer? Because you're going to have to make those decisions soon.
I'm not sure what I can say after that, Kate. I think we've never covered quite so much content, including the potential end of the world, in a half-hour podcast before on convenience retail. But I think, it just, as you say, we offered 20,000 years of progress, and I think we've got pretty close to it. So that's an amazing, rapid summary over some massive issues, and certainly one that we will undoubtedly be returning to as a central theme of where we're going over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, for sure. I think I like I said, I definitely have a lot of things. And I guess Claude could have bought me those stools. Who knows? But I took over as the human on that one. I took over the autopilot, if you will. So, Kate, Anthony, thank you so much for your time today. This was just scratching the surface, but I think it's just another reason why we just all need to stay a little worldly, pay attention, and just dig in there. Just ask it to do things for you. We'll see where you go from there. But be careful. Don't fall in love with the AI. I guess that's one of our takeaways today. So thank you again for joining us today. It's been fantastic. And thank you for listening to The Future of Convenience. Thank you for listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, produced by Dan Munford, Nick Scherzer, Jenna Ferguson, and Lorraine Evans. It is produced and edited and mixed by Carolyn Schnare, and music is provided by Jukebox Music. Learn more at globalconvenience.com.